Já, á daginn, gaman að sjá okkur öll þetta á fundinum. Að þessu sinni erum við með Jónas Egilsson frá Langanes sem tók þátt í með okkur á síðasta ári á Skyrora að skjóta tilrauna eldflaug frá sveitafélaginu. Hann ætlar svona aðeins að spjalla það hvernig það er að fá einhverja síðherra gutta í stríðarskóm sem að segja honum að þeir ætla að fá að skjóta upp eldflaug og hvernig það er svo að vinna með okkur. Þetta var mjög skemmtilegt. Og hún Hugrún Stefánsdóttir, íðorðafræðingur sem var hjá okkur í nokkra mánuði vegna verkefni sem að Space Iceland var með fyrir varðaði íslensku og geimi. Það er nefnilega svolítið þannig að tungumálið á skrifstofunni er oftast nær enska eins og þið munið kynnast á þessum fundi sem fer að mestu fram á ensku. Og það er oft svona kannski flóknara mál að fjalla geiminn og geimvísindin á íslensku. Þannig að Hugrún kom og hjálpaði okkur við það ásamt Árna stofnun og svo nýsköpunarsjóði námsmanna sem að styrkti verkefni. So thank you guys for attending this meeting. We're actually quite excited about this meeting. This time around, it's less technical, I think, than generally. With us is Hugrún. She's the terminologist for Space Iceland. She was involved with a project on creating and documenting and setting up a database of Icelandic terminology for space. It can at times be somewhat complicated to talk about space in Icelandic. It's such a new field, so obviously there's a need for new terminology. And Jónas Egilsson, mayor of Langanes, where Skyrora, in cooperation with Space Iceland, conducted a test launch last August. And he's just going to talk a little bit about how it is from a mayor's perspective when space shows up and claims to be that they want to launch a rocket from their municipality, and we know because we've talked about this before that he was being very polite at the first meetings, so it was lovely to be able to follow the project through. So there are a couple of announcements. So Space Iceland wrote a review to Parliament on public support for innovation in Iceland. There is a bill that will fundamentally change that system, and one of the aspects that we've been against and kind of trying to make the argument that it's not the right time to do it and it needs to be thought through a little bit better is the closing down of the Innovation Center. There have been some discussions in Parliament. It's now been passed through the first two voting, so it should go to the third one. Which generally signals that it will go through. So we'll have to understand better what will happen afterwards, but one of the main reasons why we've written somewhat a negative review on the bill is that we fear that it will take up to 2 years to kind of create stability and refocus the efforts for innovation. So that's ongoing. The review was quite dominant in the parliamentary discussion. It was quoted quite thoroughly. And there's another bill that is actually quite significant, and we're working on a review for that. It's a bill on airspace. It's quite a significant bill. It's around 500 pages and in a very limited way addresses space. But however, it's a fundamental step for the space sector in Iceland, as it actually creates the first step to for some sort of legal stability, and it sets the process of of getting launch permits. And it also gives ICETRA will now handle any registration and is set for the task to handle registration of space objects. So there's a lot of work that has to be done over the next few years, but it is a cause for celebration. It's a significant bill for Space Iceland, and I hope that we can claim that we contributed to it happening. But I think that's it from us. We can discuss it further later on, but I think I would like to ask Hugrún to start the talk a little bit and tell us about her terminology project. Hugrún, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I guess I should start. I should start my camera.
Yes, that would be ideal. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me on this meeting. I didn't plan very much to say outside of the slideshow that I have for you. I'm just going to tell you about a project that I participated in last summer.
Can I interrupt you because your camera isn't on? Could you put it on?
Ah, sorry. Okay, it looks like it's on for me.
Okay. That's all right. So if you just share your slide, I can put the spotlight on you.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, but it looked like it was on for me, so I'm not sure what it is. Right.
Sure what it is.
Okay, I will share the screen.
Yes, please do. Fantastic, thank you.
All right,
continue.
Can you see it? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to tell you about a project that I was in charge of and participated in last summer with Space Iceland. This was in relation to Icelandic. We created an Icelandic term base for space-related terminology, and this project was funded by Rannis. They're called Icelandic Center for Research, and they funded us as students, 2 of us. So this was done. The idea originally came from Space Iceland. They wanted to research and improve Icelandic terminology in the space sector. Iceland does have an official language policy, which aims to preserve and protect the language. And its main aim is to ensure that Icelandic is used in every sector of Icelandic society. So that's quite interesting because considering the importance of the space sector worldwide, it only made sense to us that this work should take place because this is one sector in the Icelandic society. So if the main aim of the language policy is to use Icelandic everywhere, then of course this work needs to be done. I want to mention also that the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the EU places an obligation on the Union to respect linguistic diversity. Sorry about this. All right. The objective was to encourage the use of Icelandic in the space sector and thereby improving language equality against English. And we want to develop with the times by keeping up with new technology and science, mapping and encouraging the use of Icelandic in the space sector. These are also preventative actions against linguistic endangerment. This is something that we are thinking about a lot. We are very concerned with. Funding and promoting linguistic development in the space sector and within science and technology as a whole is something we care about. What's the argument for this project? English is dominant in the space sector, also in Iceland. We found this out very early on in our work. This is understandable. It's the global language, but it should be counteracted with proper reinforcing and encouragement of the use of Icelandic. It's also worth noting, very important, that Alþing in 2016 had a parliamentary resolution to apply for an ESA membership, which helps bring the space sector to the forefront in Iceland and hopefully grows the relationship. So when the space sector has more room and is taking place in Iceland, of course, we want to be able to talk about it. So I participated in this as a student. I have a master's degree in applied translations and a bachelor's in German and Latin. And I brought my knowledge of linguistics and translation. I don't have any experience in the space sector and very little in science and technology. So I needed somebody to help me with that. So there was Árni Þór. He is studying space robotics and automation at the moment. He studied mechatronic engineering. So he brought his knowledge of science, technology, and the space sector. So we worked together on the project. We came from very different directions, and that was very helpful. It worked really well to have this done. And as advisors was Árni Þór, that most of you probably know, Director of Space Iceland and Alpha, Deputy Director, and on the linguistic side we had Ágústa Þorbergsdóttir from the Árna Magnússon Institute for Icelandic Studies. She's an experienced terminologist, so she helped us with that side of the project. Just a little bit of a context to highlight the relationship of Iceland with the space sector. We have an Icelandic astronaut who has gone to space. We have signed 3 of 5 of UN's conventions on outer space. Like I mentioned, we have applied for an ESA membership. And we had a large event last summer when Skyrora launched a rocket from Iceland, which I guess will be talked about in more detail. And we are a member of Copernicus, which aims to improve information service with the help of satellite data. So these are just a few points on how the relationship actually is. What is the point of all of this? The work in a nutshell took place June to October, and it was a collaboration between the Árna Magnússon Institute for Icelandic Studies. They are the main institute, for Icelandic studies in Iceland, and Space Iceland. We systematically accumulated terminology that was relevant for the space sector with the aim of making it accessible to the public and, of course, encouraging the use of the terminology in Icelandic. We processed and published it online in September. You can actually access the term base now. Yes, and I already mentioned the collaboration that we had with Space Iceland and Ágústa Þorbergsdóttir, terminologist. And this was funded again by the Icelandic Center for Research. The reaction was very positive from the beginning. We do have a culture of general interest in the language here in Iceland. So Icelanders generally react very well to this kind of work, and all the professionals we spoke to, they were really happy with what we were doing. Just an overview of the timeline. We started by contacting people, so professionals and anybody who might be interested who works in the space sector or related to the space sector. And we thought we were expecting them to have maybe a list or some terms that they struggled with. So we were kind of trying to assess the need for this terminology to be processed. And actually, they said they mainly just use English. They didn't have anything that they had accumulated themselves. So we had to go back in time. We went back to the 50s and looked at all the new papers, articles, books, online articles to find what had already been coined, what had already been said. And sometimes it was from the space age, you know, when there was a lot of interest in space, of course, journalists and writers had to find words. So we made use of that and sort of revived maybe terms that hadn't been really used for a long time. We also identified terms that we found relevant that didn't even have a name in Icelandic. So we had to create neologisms, which was very fun. It's very creative to basically create new words that are end up being published by an official institution. So we had sometimes terms that there's no word for them in a dictionary, but maybe there's just a definition. We also did PR because we really wanted as much participation as possible, and we wanted to get attention to this project because that's part of the encouraging people to use it. So we wrote an article, me and Atli published an article. We had Facebook discussions. We had a symposium with the Icelandic Science Society, and Alfa and I went to the radio, a live radio, where we gave an interview on this project. And then the work continued August till October, brainstorming, processing, prioritizing. We held regular meetings with experts with our questions, and so we had to categorize words and prioritize, and that was the hardest part of the project, because a lot of terms they kind of go, you know, they're the space sector and they are also just space or astronomy related, or even in politics. So we needed help with that. We finalized all the necessary paperwork, and we had another interview with Fréttablaðið, so we really got a lot of exposure, which was very good. And of course, if you consider such an important event, such as the Skyrora launch, of course, this was discussed in the media. This was a very interesting thing happening. And the journalists, they need to have terms to talk about what is going on. So we already had some terms coined that were used. That was very good to see, because you can imagine if a journalist is writing about something space related and we have a very poor terminology for it, they have to make something up on the spot with their limited time, or just use English. So I think it's preferable that somebody like us has a focused project where we already coin these terms and we already define them. So journalists, for example, and the public generally talking can access these terms and talk about this properly in Icelandic. I just want to give a few examples of our neologisms. This one was talked about a lot, and this has apparently been a troublemaker for people working in the field for some time. Suborbital. Probably many of you are familiar with it, relating to or denoting a trajectory that does not complete a full orbit of the Earth. So actually we found this had already been translated once in 1985, and we found an article. We don't know that it has ever been used since. So we revived it, and we found that it's inspired by Swedish, the Swedish word kastbanefärd, which was very good. So we cannot use the word in the same way that you would say suborbital. In English, we have to have it as a prefix and put the word together. So here you have, for example, derived words: kastbrautarflug, suborbital flight; kastbrautarskot, suborbital launch. some of this is already being used. We saw it discussed in Parliament. They used our words, and we have also seen some articles using this. So that was very good, and I think we have solved this problem for anybody working in the space sector in Iceland. Here's another one, mobile launch complex. If I'm not mistaken, this was actually part of Skyrora's setup. They had a mobile launch complex, yes. So this had to be talked about. And what is it? A structure used to support a large multi-stage space vehicle, which is assembled vertically in an integration facility and then transported by a crawler transported to a launch pad. This is quite heavy. So we translated it. Færanleg skotsamstæða. It's quite a direct translation. Movable launch or shot complex. I don't think it's too long. I mean, mobile launch complex is already a long term, so you cannot really expect a short and sweet term coming out of it. So I think we found a very good solution. I think it's very usable, and I hope it gets used, especially if we have more mobile launch complexes here in Iceland. Let's see, orbital maneuvering system. These are just a few examples of words that we didn't have any translation for. Here I put dashes. They are actually not natural in the word, but it's just to help you see how we divide the word. You can see how crazy Icelandic gets. This is one word. And yeah, it's orbital or off an orbit direction changing system, to be completely direct with the translation. And it's quite transparent, I would say. Not short, but at the same time, orbital maneuvering system isn't short either. So, all right, this is very relevant right now, isn't it? I guess we used to only have, or mainly have, government space flight, but now we have much more private or news and interest in private space flight. This took us some time to decide on, but we came up with space. We already have this word, space flight, geimflug. It's a direct translation of a private entity. And I think that's a very good solution and very usable. And I expect this to be used more and more in the news and just general discussion. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to contact me, here's my contact information.
Thank you, Hugrún. If you can unshare your screen. Thank you. So yeah, I just want to say that I think Hugrún did a fantastic job, and actually we're quite proud of this project. It's a little bit unusual, I guess, but not as unusual as one might think, because actually a lot of space agencies, and we need to note that we are not a space agency, do have a terminologist and an ongoing project. That would be particularly true for multilingual or bilingual agencies. So we are quite proud of it, and it was our ambition to kind of keep doing it. But it's slightly difficult to monetize free words, the creation of new words that are open to everyone. So we're very happy with it, and our ambition is to try to do more of it. And it's very pleasant to see that it's already being used, including by Parliament, and we can see it now in some statements next to bills that they are obviously using the database. So if there are no questions for Hugrún, I think we'll just kind of wait with the questions until the last. Jonas, are you ready to say a few words?
Yes, I am. You can hear me, everybody? Some of you,
Your sound is quite bad.
I'm sorry, is that? But I can hear myself completely. But, is it going to be better now?
No, it's quite difficult to hear what you're saying.
Because, usually this works quite good. Can you hear me better now? Or elaborate some ways?
Can you go into on your screen? You'll see a microphone, and there's like a triangle where you can choose which microphone you're using, and you can select the microphone on your headphone. It's very likely that. Yes, this is fantastic.
Okay, yeah, the computer selected the wrong microphone. So you can hear me right now.
Brilliant.
Good. Well, I'm pleased to be with you here today. Some of you I do know, others I don't, and I was asked to give best regards from the president of the Langanes Big Council, who was here just prior to the meeting, and we were just talking about your plans and everything. So we are pleased to. I'm pleased to give his regards too. Yes, Árni Þór mentioned something, that last year I received few strange people here, last January actually, with some wild ideas, to say the least, I felt, and admittingly, I did not place much faith in their proposals, but yeah, try to be, like you said, try to be positive. Well, they came through for sure, and we were very happy to welcome all of you from Skyrora here last year, and be the venue of your trial launch here last year. It was, I must say, very well received within the community here, and I spoke with the headmaster of our school, who said this was created or generated great interest among the students. I will come back to that a bit later, but they are very well interested. But firstly, I must say I am impressed with your program and with your performance here, and with this idea of connecting Icelandic language development into this project, which I must say is a very needy idea, I think, and we would very much like, if possible, here locally to, shall we say, be part of that, or have our students look into that too, because I think this is a very good idea, both in terms of developing the Icelandic language and also the space program in general. So I must admit that in spite of the looks, in spite of the advantage, in spite of everything, Atli and you guys, Derek and everybody, you have been very impressive, and congratulate you on that. And we are, yeah, and like I said, this is a small community, like most of you know. We are only about 500 people living here, but we have shall we say, a good launching site, I'm told, or the opportunities for launching rockets from here. But also, I want to just let you know that since we launched this rocket last summer, we have been discussing in the municipality here ideas about creating a national park in Langanes. That would is an idea, and I don't know how that would connect to the future space programs, but that is something I think as a new topic for all of us if realized. But that's in the future. Then, as you also know, we have a project here called Finnafjörður Finnafjörður harbor. That is, the idea is to create a major harbor here in adjacent Finnafjörður and also some windmill projects and energy production through windmills and so. But that in per se would not, I believe, coincide or conflict with your ideas, I think. So this is a welcome addition to the ideas we are developing in this region. And like I said earlier, we would like to, if possible, to involve our students or get into this your plan of Skyrora to some extent, to the extent it's possible. It would be idea, could create or generate some interest among the students for both space and developing the language. So I'm particularly impressed with this idea of connecting Icelandic development of Icelandic language into space language, so to speak. And if possible, we would like to receive some documents of that. But yeah, I've received some documents about possible future launching and in an area called the Brimnes, which is owned by the municipality, I think, and if that is possible, I think we would be very happy to work with Skyrora people, both locally and internationally, on this in the future. So we are just waiting, to do whatever little we can do to support this program, and it was a welcome addition, like I said, addition to the discussions about or the PR events for Langanes. So I think I can praise you guys for your good work. We are happy to be with you here today, and if there's something we can do, kindly let us know. We will be in touch. I have no, like I said, nothing further to say. Our role in this project is not very big, but I can convey the positive feedbacks from the people in Langanes, and we are looking forward to learn about your next steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonas. So I think we are open for just general discussions and talks now. I have to say from us that it was absolutely amazing to spend time in Langanes last time, and I am still super impressed by the restaurant that we went to, I think, every day, twice a day.
And the fishing trip, of course.
And the fishing trip was a great success. And yes, I mean, one of the more enjoyable part of last time was our ability to work a little bit with the school children, but due to COVID, it was more limited than we would have wanted to. And I think and Derek and Robin from Skyrora will probably pick this up. I think it's absolutely clear that we will want to do more with the local schools. And actually, on that note, I forgot to announce at the beginning of the meeting that we've just received funding to employ 5 students this summer to create educational material on space science, and particularly on what's happening in Iceland, and sort of how children that aspire to work in the sector could find a lot of interesting projects to participate in here. So we will most definitely be in contact with the local schools over there.
Sorry, can I jump in? Sorry.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Just to jump in with that, Jonas, again, I've sent you a private thank you there about our time in Thorshavn. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and as with actually, I confirmed the restaurant was top class, and I cannot wait to get the skyrora again. So But in all honesty, I have been speaking with Atlee and Alpha since we came home, and about if we were to have future launches, how we can engage more with the schools, because I really want to do that. So yeah, just to back up what Atlee was saying there, definitely we want to sort of help with that outreach if we come back, not just eat all the cheesecake. So back to you.
All right. Do you want to respond to that, Jonas, or should I ask if anyone has a question?
Thank you. I'm pleased to learn that you had a good time. I also, well, we have some more, there is more fish and there is more skyr here and there is more good food here definitely for you, for everybody. I can guarantee that. Welcome back anytime.
Thank you. So is anyone that has a question? Anyone will want to give their thoughts? I see that Árni Þór has asked to ask.
Yes, I am here. So can I go in, or is the program still on?
Yes, you can ask the question. It's still on.
So, well, Langanes, well, I have a question that is, well, the two sides, the good and the bad. The satellite or the rocket do not usually, well, sometimes they do not go up, they go down again. And then we need to have a safe area around us. And I don't like to see that a nice town be hitting by one rocket. So the question is, how far is a safe area from the launch place? And is it better to keep it on Grimsey? When the rocket goes down, it will hit the ocean, not a small town. And so the question that will be once is, how clean will be, or how far away do we need to have a clean space from the rocket launch? As we have learned, they go sometimes down, not always up, and we don't like to hurt anyone with the launch. And in the translation, I know it is not easy to translate, and even that it's always I have to say this is a bad translation. And then, of course, I will ask you what word is better. But like example, telephone, it is sími. Radio, it's útvarp. We do not translate it direct. We like to find completely new, easy word for it. And I think some of these words are so long, I will not use it in my work. If I'm going to talk about orbiting satellite and so on, I would like to see some more easier Icelandic word. But if you ask me what word I have in mind, I need to have a thing. But when I was reading this, it was direct translation instead of thinking out of the box and find something new and a very nice word, if I can say so. But off the record, as I say in the text, not many people know that here in Iceland is already a huge Earth station owned by a private company that is controlling over 200 satellites, and they are put on orbit from Iceland. Well, they are launched in Russia or in Florida, but the Icelandic station is the one that get them in the right way, upgrading the firmware and get them on the right way. And that same station is also communicating with them to keep them on track. And just for the end is that small satellites are now getting more popular. As why do you like to launch a satellite that is 15 years old? For after 5 years, he's completely out of, well, everything inside him is getting too old. The camera too old, the memory is too small, well, everything, CPU too small. So they like to have a satellite that will jump down in the ocean after 5 or 10 years, for he is out of order already. But I talk too much, so I think give this.
I was gonna tell you that. Thank you for the question. I think Robin Haig is the best person to answer your question. Robin is the launch manager for Skyrora, and he can answer both your environmental concerns and your safety concerns. Robin, are you ready?
Yes, definitely. So thank you very much for the question. In terms of safe distances, the peninsula provides many times the typical safe distance from the settlement at the start of the peninsula. The American Federal Aviation Authority has become sort of the global standard for establishing safe distances, and for our classification of vehicle by its size, by its mass, they would tend to, their brackets recommend at least 2.4 kilometers. In practice, what is possible with Langanes is over 15 kilometers clearance. So we have a good safety radii, but further on top of that, we're not just dependent upon distance. The vehicle itself will have safety systems. The control system of the vehicle has a sort of geofencing feature, whereby if the computer, and there's multiple redundant computers, if the computer determines that the vehicle is at the wrong angle or diverging too far from where it should be, it will turn off. And we will also be tracking it from the ground, and we can command it to turn off as well. So not only do we have good safe distance, but then we have multiple levels of control that can ensure that it stays well away from settlement.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? We have a little bit more time. Hugrún, do you want to pick up on Ari's point on the terminology?
Yes, thank you very much for this comment. And I agree with you. We really wanted to have the translations, at least as much as we could, not only transparent. I mean, that is one criteria, but also we wanted like just very usable words, because of course, like I said, the aim was to encourage the use of these words. So your comment is very welcome, but we did go public with this work, and we did contact specialists, and we worked together with a terminologist, and this was the result. I mean, it can of course happen that a term is officially coined, but then it develops into something else. Not everything is used that has been published officially. Sometimes just other words are used, and we do have really interesting, for example, with Simi and Tölva, they're very short and sweet. So I really hadn't thought about it with these things. I also have the limit of not really having a technical background, so I don't know exactly what people working in the space sector would like to have, like a mobile launch complex, if they would appreciate just a very short word that isn't really transparent, but as long as it kind of goes into use and everybody knows what it means, then it can be used. Just to give an example, but if you have some suggestions, you're welcome to send them to us.
Já, heyri ég Ari aftur, vandræðagemlingurinn sem talar svo mikið. Heyrðu, já, það auðvelt, en ég nú í grúpu af fólki, tæknifólki, og ég var hissa að ég hef ekki heyrt af þessari þýðingu eða neitt af okkur, eða þá, en já, ég að lesa þennan komment. Heyrðu, en ég hef kannski áhuga að tala við þið seinna hugsalega þýðingu, þarf að hugsa þetta aðeins, og ég vola ánægður með það að enginn á Langanesi verður fyrir skoti. Ég held bara að þegar þetta væri komið jafnvel 20.000 fet eða eitthvað klikkaði, að þá væri kannski fjarlægðin lengri. En þetta eru frábærar fréttir að Langanes getur virkað, og það voru skot hérna á Suðurlandi, á Söndorm þar, og þá var einmitt hugsað til þess að það langt í næsta bæ. En mér hlakkar til að sjá gervitungl fara upp, og hugsaðlega með fyrirtæki sem ég vinn fyrir kaupa þjónustu af ykkur og skjóta upp litlu gervitunglum, en þetta eru kölluð svokallaðir 2U og 4U gervitungl sem eru skotin upp og það skotið upp í hverju mánuði 20-30 jafnvel í einu. Heyrðu, en ég ætla bara að fara til hliðar og fylgjast með og fylgjast spenntur hvernig þetta framvindur.
So I think those are all the questions. It's been lovely to be with you. All of you, thank you, Jonas, and we look forward to being back in Langanes. Thank you, Hugrún, for telling us about the project. Yes?
I just can assure you that we are safe here in Langanes, definitely. And this is probably, there are no, no earth fires here or earthquakes. Probably the safest place in Iceland as of now. But thank you very much. It's a pleasure being with you today.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thanks for the meeting, and we'll see you next month. There will be a review going out this month for the bill on airspace, and things will kind of just carry on as usual. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.